Hi, I'm Sophia, a 19-year-old college student with a story that might just change the way you think about family. Growing up as an adopted child, I was surrounded by the warmth and love of my parents, who never made me feel anything less than their own. But there was always a chill in the air when it came to Grandma Margaret. At family gatherings, while laughter and conversation filled the room, a cold front seemed to settle wherever she was, especially near me. "So, Sophia, how's your little college adventure going?" Grandma Margaret would ask, her voice tinged with disapproval, as though going to college was a frivolous pursuit. "Oh, it's enlightening," I'd reply, trying to keep things civil, even though I knew she didn't approve of my major in social work, a field she thought was too charitable for someone as privileged as me. My parents, John and Mary, often tried to ease the tension. "Mom, Sophia's doing great. Aren't you proud of her?" my dad would say, attempting to bridge the gap between us. I suppose Grandma Margaret would mutter, sipping her tea and scanning the room for a more suitable conversation partner. As my 18th birthday approached, I secretly hoped things with Grandma might change. We sent her an invite to my birthday dinner, despite her usual frosty demeanor. "Maybe this year will be different," I mused to my best friend, Lily, over the phone. "Maybe she'll see that I'm more than just the adopted granddaughter." Lily, ever the optimist, encouraged me, saying, "You're better than you think, Sophia. Maybe she'll finally see that too." On the night of the party, I carefully chose a blue dress my mom said brought out my highs, hoping it might soften Margaret's usual scrutiny. As guests arrived, laughter filled our home until Margaret walked in. Her eyes swept over me with the same cold indifference. "Happy birthday, Sophia. You look mature," she said without warmth. "Thank you, Grandma. I'm glad you could come," I replied, my smile feeling forced. The dinner went on as usual, with polite conversation and simmering tension. But halfway through the evening, just as I was about to cut the cake, the doorbell rang. I offered to get it, my heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. When I opened the door, I found myself staring at a woman who looked oddly familiar, her features echoing my own. "Sophia, I'm Evelyn," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm your birth mother. I had got a call from Margaret. She told me you wanted to reconnect, that you needed to know your real family because you felt out of place." The knife I was holding slipped from my hand, clattering against the plate. Behind me, the chatter in the room fell silent. "Is this true, Sophia? Are you unhappy here?" Evelyn asked, her eyes searching mine for answers I didn't have. "No, that's not true at all," I stammered, feeling trapped. I turned to look at Margaret, her expression unreadable. This was the storm I hadn't seen coming, one brewing from within the very walls I thought were safe. Margaret had orchestrated this. The festive atmosphere of my birthday shattered in an instant, leaving me in the eye of a betrayal that would change the meaning of family for me forever. "Margaret told me you were unhappy, that you felt out of place in your adoptive family," Evelyn continued, her voice breaking. "She said you wanted to meet me to connect with your roots." "That's not true," I said, my voice cracking. I don't know why Margaret would say that. My eyes darted to my grandma, pleading for an explanation. My father stepped forward, his face filled with confusion and anger. "Why would you do this, Mom?" he asked. My mother, her voice a mixture of disbelief and hurt, demanded, "What are you trying to accomplish, Margaret?" "She deserves to know where she comes from," Margaret snapped. "She has a right to know her real family, not just the one that's been playing pretend." "Grandma, how could you?" I choked out, the hurt evident in my voice. "They're not pretending. They are my family. Sophia is our daughter, Margaret. How dare you undermine that?" My dad's voice rose, his usual calm replaced by fury. Margaret, seemingly taken aback by the outcry, mumbled, "I thought I was doing the right thing. She has a right to know her blood." "Blood isn't the only thing that makes a family, Margaret. You've crossed the line," my mom said, her disappointment palpable. Turning to Evelyn, I tried to offer some reassurance. "I'm sorry you were dragged into this under false pretenses," I said softly, hoping to mend at least one part of the damage Margaret had caused. "I just wanted to meet the daughter I couldn't raise." Margaret made it sound like you wanted the same. Evelyn's voice was soft, her sorrow reflecting the chaos Margaret had created. The room grew still, the festive decorations a stark contrast to the heavy hearts we all carried. I glanced around at my family, my real family, and felt a renewed sense of belonging, despite Margaret's attempts to fracture it. "Let's talk, Evelyn. Not because of what Margaret did, but despite it." I want you to know the family that raised me, the family I love. My words, offered as a bridge between my past and present, hung in the air, a tentative offer of reconciliation amidst the ruins of the evening. Thank you, Sophia. I like that, Evelyn responded, her acceptance the first step toward healing, a glimmer of hope on a night marred by unexpected revelations. Why would you do something like this, Margaret? What were you thinking? My father's voice was stern, demanding answers in the wake of the ruined celebration. I thought it was helping, Margaret replied, her tone defiant. I thought she needed to reconnect with where she came from, to understand that she wasn't really one of us. One of us? Sophia is more a part of this family than anyone else could be. How could you say she's not one of us? My mother's voice trembled with a mixture of fury and pain. Her protective instinct fiercely awakened. You never understood Mary. You and John took her in, but blood is blood. I thought she should know her own kind, Margaret replied, her old-fashioned beliefs clashing with the values we held dear. Her own kind? We are her kind, Margaret. We are her family. John's voice, usually so calm, broke under the weight of the betrayal. Mom, Dad, I love you. You raised me, you cared for me. Margaret, why can't you see that? Why can't you accept that I am happy? That this is my real family? My voice interrupted the rising argument, a plea for understanding amidst the chaos. Sophia, I thought I was doing the right thing. Maybe I was wrong. For the first time, Margaret's voice softened, a crack in her defiance finally appearing. You've caused so much pain tonight, Margaret. How do we move forward from here? My mother's question lingered, the uncertainty heavy in the room. We start by acknowledging that Sophia's place in this family is not up for debate. She is our daughter. That's final. If you can't accept that, Margaret, I don't know how you can be part of our lives. My father's ultimatum was clear, the boundaries set. Sophia, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can forgive me, but I am sorry. Margaret's apology was hesitant, her pride battling with the realization of the hurt she had caused. I appreciate your apology, Grandma, but it's going to take time. A lot of time, I responded, the wound too fresh, the betrayal too deep to simply move past. As Margaret left the room, the silence that followed was a relief, a chance to breathe. John and Mary wrapped their arms around me, their love a balm to the sting of the evening's revelations. We love you, Sophia. Nothing changes that, not now, not ever, my mother whispered, her reassurance a gentle echo in the chaos, a reminder of the unbreakable bond we shared. As we stood united, the challenges ahead seemed daunting but not insurmountable. With the love and support of my parents, I knew we could face anything, even the deepest family rifts. Weeks later, I sat across from my therapist, the room quiet except for the soft ticking of the clock. It's just so hard to understand why she did it. Margaret wanted to send me back to a place I haven't belonged in years, I said, my voice tinged with the lingering hurt. Sophia, it's important to process these feelings. What she did was not a reflection of your worth, but of her own struggles with acceptance, my therapist gently explained, her words steady amidst my turmoil. I know, but it still hurts. My parents have been incredible, reassuring me every day that I'm loved, that I belong. I replied, grateful for their unwavering support. Those therapy sessions became a lifeline, helping me rebuild trust in the family that had always been my home. Meanwhile, Margaret's situation took a tragic turn. Her health began to decline rapidly, a cruel irony as she found herself needing the very family she had once tried to tear apart. One afternoon, my mother called me into the living room. Margaret was there, looking frail and diminished. Sophia, I need help. I am sorry for everything. Her voice was weak, her eyes pleading. Margaret, this is hard for me, but I can't ignore someone in need. Not even you. Despite everything, I felt a stir of compassion. We were still family, even if the bonds were frayed. Thank you, Sophia. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm grateful for your help, Margaret admitted, her reliance on us evident in her tone. In the weeks that followed, I found myself accompanying Mary to Margaret's doctor visits, supporting her through appointments. In the quiet, sterile hospital corridors, I saw a side of Margaret I'd never known. I was wrong, Sophia, she confessed one afternoon during a long wait. Your parents, they're good people. And you truly are their daughter. Her voice was barely a whisper, but the sincerity was undeniable. It's been a long journey, Grandma. It'll take time to heal, I said, my own walls cautiously coming down. Time? Yes. I hope there's enough of it left for me to make things right, she mused, her words tinged with regret. My therapy sessions continue to be a safe space for reflection. You're navigating this with great maturity, Sophia. How you're handling Margaret's situation is commendable, my therapist remarked during one session. It's not easy, I admitted, but I'm learning that family isn't just about blood. It's about who stands by you when the ground shakes. My understanding of family was deepening as Margaret leaned on us more, and our household shifted. From the ashes of betrayal, new bridges were being built, slowly, painstakingly. In the quiet of Margaret's room, the steady beep of the monitor reminded us of life's fragility. Her breathing was labored, her health fading faster than we'd expected. Despite the pain she had caused, I found myself holding her frail hand in mine. You've been so kind to me, Sophia. After everything I've done, she murmured one afternoon, her voice stripped of its former sternness. It's what family does, Grandma. We take care of each other, no matter what. I replied softly, my words meant to soothe the wounds of our past. I see that now. I wish I had seen it sooner, Margaret said, her eyes meeting mine with a clarity that spoke of realizations come too late. We can't change the past, Grandma, but we can accept its lessons, I responded, squeezing her hand gently. Forgiveness, hard won through my own journey of healing, was finally given. As the days turned into nights, Margaret's moments of lucidity grew rarer. But in those moments, she spoke of gratitude, regret, and the understanding she had gained at the end of her life. When the end came, it was peaceful. Margaret passed away with my parents and me by her side. A somber yet serene finale to a life marked by both strife and change. Her funeral was a quiet affair, attended by those who had witnessed her transformation and supported her in her final days. Standing by her grave, I felt a weight lift. A chapter was closing, not with bitterness, but with the quiet dignity of reconciliation. She found peace, Sophia. And I think we can find it too, Mary whispered as we watched the last of the mourners leave. Yes, Mom. It's time to look forward, to build on the love we have. As we walked away, the sun broke through the clouds, its rays like fingers of warmth reaching down to soothe the chill of the graveyard. It felt like a sign of new beginnings, of the enduring power of love and acceptance. A fitting tribute to the lessons learned and the family bonds that had ultimately withstood the tests of time and trial. As our story draws to a close, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you believe true forgiveness is possible when someone deeply betrays family trust, as Margaret did? Can family bonds overcome such deep wounds? Share your opinions in the comments below. Hey there, I'm Olivia, a 28-year-old marketing executive who thought I had my life all planned out. Everything seemed perfect, especially on the night of my engagement party. I was ecstatic, surrounded by friends, family, and of course, my fiancé Marcus. My parents' house was decked out like something straight out of a fairy tale. I was in my room, putting the final touches on my makeup when my Aunt Karen burst in. "Oh, sweetie, you look stunning," she exclaimed, enveloping me in a hug. "I can't believe my little niece is all grown up and getting married." I laughed, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. "Thanks, Aunt Karen. I'm so glad you're here to help. You've always been like a second mom to me." As she helped declasp my necklace, her hands trembled slightly. "Are you sure about this, Olivia? Marriage is a big step." I brushed off her concern. "Aunt Karen, we've talked about this. Marcus is amazing and I love him. You'll see how perfect we are together tonight." She nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. I chose to ignore it, assuming she was just being overprotective. As guests started arriving, I moved around, greeting everyone with a huge smile. My best friend and maid of honor, Samantha, pulled me aside. "Girl, you're glowing. But what's up with your aunt? She's been giving Marcus the stink eye all night." I sighed. "You know how she is. She'll come around once she gets to know him better." Just then, Marcus appeared, looking dashing in his suit. "There's my beautiful fiancé," he said, pulling me close. "Your aunt cornered me earlier. I think she was trying to grill me about my intentions or something." I rolled my eyes. "I'm sorry, babe. She means well, I promise." The party was in full swing when Marcus's phone buzzed. "Sorry, I have to take this. It's work," he whispered, stepping out onto the side porch. I mingled with the guests. After about 10 minutes, I started to worry. Where was he? Suddenly, I heard a commotion from the front of the house. My heart dropped as I saw flashing lights through the windows. What the hell was going on? I rushed to the front door and froze. Marcus was on the ground, his hands behind his back, two police officers standing over him. My Aunt Karen was pointing at him, her finger trembling. "That's him, officers. I saw him sneaking around the side of the house." I couldn't believe my eyes. "Aunt Karen, what are you doing?" "That's Marcus, my fiancé." The confusion on her face quickly turned to horror as she realized her mistake, but the damage was already done. Our perfect engagement party had turned into a complete disaster, and as I looked at Marcus's humiliated face, I couldn't help but wonder if we ever recover from this. Little did I know, this was only the beginning of a series of events that would turn my life upside down and make me question everything I thought I knew about family, love, and trust. As I stood there, watching the police officers roughly handle Marcus, I felt like I was trapped in a twisted nightmare. My voice was hoarse from yelling explanations, but it seemed like no one was listening. "Please, officers, this is all a huge misunderstanding," I pleaded, tears streaming down my face. "That's my fiancé, Marcus. We're having our engagement party right now." One of the officers finally turned to me, his expression serious. "Ma'am, we received a call about an intruder. We have to follow protocol." I spun around to face Aunt Karen, who was swaying slightly, a half-empty wine glass in her hand. "Aunt Karen, how could you do this? You've met Marcus dozens of times." She hiccupped, her eyes unfocused. I thought I saw someone sneaking around. I was just trying to protect you, Olivia." By now, all our guests had gathered around, whispering and staring. I could see the shock and embarrassment on Marcus's face as he sat, handcuffed on the ground. This was supposed to be our special night, and now it was ruined. After what felt like an eternity, the situation was finally cleared up. The officers removed Marcus's handcuffs and apologized for the misunderstanding. But the damage was done. Our perfect evening was shattered. As the last of the guests awkwardly said their goodbyes, I approached Aunt Karen, expecting a heartfelt apology. Instead, she just patted my arm and slurred, "Well, that was exciting, wasn't it? These things happen, dear. No harm done." Before I could respond, Samantha pulled me aside, her eyes narrowed as she watched Aunt Karen stumble towards the kitchen. "Liv, I don't want to add fuel to the fire, but don't you think this is a bit strange? Your aunt's known Marcus for ages, and she doesn't seem nearly as drunk as she's acting." I shook my head, not wanting to consider the implications. "Sam, please, she made a mistake. A horrible, embarrassing mistake, but still. I don't now live. Something doesn't add up here." As the night wound down, I found Marcus sitting alone on the porch swing, his shoulders slumped, staring out into the darkness. "Marcus, baby, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this happened." He sighed heavily. "It's not your fault, Olivia. But I can't help feeling like your family doesn't want me here. Maybe we should rethink this whole engagement thing." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. "No, Marcus, please don't let one awful night ruin everything we have." Before he could respond, I heard voices coming from inside. I recognized my mom and Aunt Karen, and something in their tone made me pause. Telling Marcus I'd be right back, I crept closer to the window, my heart pounding. "I can't believe you did that, Karen," my mom was saying, her voice low and furious. "You've always made it clear you don't approve of Marcus, but this is a new low." Aunt Karen's reply made my blood run cold. "Oh, come on, Sarah. You know as well as I do that Olivia's making a huge mistake. That boy isn't good enough for her. I was just trying to open her eyes before it's too late." I stumbled back, my mind reeling. All this time, I thought Aunt Karen was just being overprotective. But this was something else entirely. As I turned to go back to Marcus, I realized that my engagement party wasn't the only thing shattered tonight. My trust in the woman I had always seen as a second mother lay in pieces at my feet. The days following the engagement party disaster were a blur of awkward phone calls and strained conversations. Marcus was pulling away, and I felt like I was losing him. I couldn't shake what I had overheard between my mom and Aunt Karen. I called Samantha, desperate for a sympathetic ear. "Sam, I think you were right. There's something off about Aunt Karen's behavior. I'm coming over. We need to talk." An hour later, we were huddled over my laptop, digging through old emails and social media posts. What we found made my stomach churn. "Look at this," Samantha pointed to an old Facebook message. "Remember Jake from college? Karen told him you were going through some things and to stay away." I felt sick. I'd always wondered why he stopped calling. We uncovered more. subtle digs at Marcus in family group chats, concerned emails to my parents about his career prospects. It was like seeing years of manipulation laid bare. Liv, there's something else, Samantha said hesitantly. I talked to the bartender at your party. Karen barely touched her drinks all night. She was faking being drunk. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. She planned all of it. The next day, I steeled myself and went to confront Aunt Karen. I found her in her garden, pruning roses like nothing was wrong. Aunt Karen, we need to talk about what happened at the party. She turned to me, all smiles. Oh, honey, let's not dwell on that unfortunate misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? You called the cops on my fiancé. Her smile faltered. I was just looking out for you. You know how men can be. Stop it, I snapped. I know you've been interfering in my relationships for years. You lied about being drunk. You've been spreading rumors about Marcus. Karen's face hardened. You ungrateful little brat. After everything I've done for you. Done for me, you've been trying to control my life. She laughed coldly. Control? I've been protecting you from your own bad decisions. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That wasn't your decision to make. You've been lying to me, manipulating me. I did what I had to do, she interrupted. You think you know what's best for you? You're still a child, Olivia. You need me. No, I said, my voice shaking. What I need is for you to stay out of my life. I'm done with your toxic behavior. Karen's eyes narrowed. You walk away from me and you'll regret it. Who do you think has been pulling strings at your company? One word from me and your perfect little career goes up in smoke. I felt like I'd been slapped. You're threatening me now, my own aunt? I'm giving you a chance to see reason, she hissed. Break it off with Marcus. I'll find you a suitable match, someone who can take care of you properly. In that moment, I saw Aunt Karen for who she truly was, a manipulative, controlling woman who had been poisoning my life for years. We're done, I said, turning to leave. Don't contact me again. As I walked away, Karen called after me. You'll come crawling back, Olivia. You need me more than you know. I got into my car, my mind racing. There was a lot of damage to undo, starting with Marcus. I realized that confronting Aunt Karen wasn't the end of this nightmare. It was just the beginning of reclaiming my life. Determined to make things right, I drove straight to Marcus's apartment, my heart pounding the whole way. When he opened the door, I could see the pain in his eyes. Marcus, I'm so sorry. I had no idea how toxic Aunt Karen was. Can we talk? I asked, my voice trembling. He hesitated but finally stepped aside, letting me in. We talked for hours, clearing the air and sharing everything we discovered about Karen's manipulations. By the end, Marcus took my hand and said, We're in this together. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I called my parents and explained everything. They were shocked but supportive. We had no idea Karen was capable of this, Mom said. We're behind you, honey. As word spread about Karen's behavior, she tried to spin the narrative, calling relatives and crying about how I'd turned against her, but her lies fell flat. People started sharing their own stories of Karen's manipulation, and suddenly her web of deceit was unraveling. Samantha took charge of damage control, organizing a proper engagement party, this time without any unwanted drama. As Marcus and I stood surrounded by our true friends and family, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. To Olivia and Marcus, Samantha toasted, raising her glass. May your love always be stronger than any obstacle. The cheers that followed warmed my heart. This was how it should have been all along. But Karen wasn't going down without a fight. She showed up at my office one day, causing a scene. You ungrateful child. After everything I've done for you, she shouted. I stood my ground. You've done nothing but tried to control me, Aunt Karen. It's over. Please leave. As security escorted her out, I noticed my coworkers watching. I braced for judgment, but instead received support. We always thought your aunt was a bit intense, my boss said. Good for you for standing up to her. Just when I thought things were settling down, the other shoe dropped. News broke that Karen had been embezzling funds from the family business for years. She was removed from the company and criminal charges were being considered. In the aftermath, Karen's carefully cultivated image crumbled. Friends distanced themselves, country club memberships were revoked, and suddenly, the woman who had tried to control everyone's lives found herself alone. Through it all, Marcus was my rock. We threw ourselves into wedding planning, and as the big day approached, I felt nothing but joy and excitement. Our wedding day dawned bright and beautiful. As I walked down the aisle, I saw Marcus beaming at me, surrounded by the people who genuinely loved and supported us. For a moment, I caught sight of a lone figure watching from afar. Aunt Karen, uninvited and isolated. I felt a twinge of sadness but pushed it aside. This was our day. I do, I said, looking into Marcus's eyes. As we kissed, cheers erupted around us. This was the beginning of our new life together. Later, as we danced at the reception, Marcus whispered, "Ready for our honeymoon, Mrs. Taylor?" I grinned. More than ready. Let's leave all this drama behind and start our adventure. As we drove off, I felt a sense of freedom I'd never known before. We were heading towards our future, stronger for what we'd overcome and ready to face whatever life threw our way together. Now, I have a question for you. If you discovered that a close family member had been sabotaging your relationships for years, could you ever forgive them? Or would you cut them out of your life completely? Share your thoughts in the comments below.